Hi, I'm Michael Whitehouse, and this is the Daily Michael Video Blog for Saturday, September 12th, 2009. As you know, I've been doing a bit of canvassing lately to get signatures to get some things on the ballot, and also I get paid for it. But one of them that I'm particularly interested in is there's apparently currently a cap of 120 charter schools in the state at any given time, which means that once you hit 120, if you want to have a new charter school, an old one has to close. So this ballot initiative is to remove that limit and make it, there can be a number of charter schools. Now, charter schools, for those of you who are not aware, are publicly funded schools that come out of the same pool as public schools, but they're alternative in some way. Pioneer Valley Performing Arts School, for example, is a charter school that focuses on performing arts, theater, dance, etc. It still teaches art, science and math and English and history and all that stuff, but it also has a very strong performing arts component. There's also charter schools that focus specifically on keeping kids in school, on high dropout risks and whatnot. Now, the reason they can do this is that charter schools have somewhat less requirements than public schools. They're not bound by all the bureaucratic BS that a regular school is. They don't have, I think they still take MCAS, but they're not quite as bound by standardized tests and all that kind of stuff. So they can focus on what the kids actually need to learn. And for a lot of the kids that come out of there, it works very well for them. I've met a number of kids from PVPA, and they're just more excited about life and learning in general than kids coming out of regular public schools. So, in canvassing for this, some people say charter schools, great, I love charter schools. And others say, well, where's the money come from? And I say, well, it comes from the same. I'm not really a great salesman because my job is to say, not interested, thanks, move along, next person, please. But I will explain to them the money comes from the same pool as public schools. And they'll say, well, we don't want to take money away from public schools, as if somehow charter schools are throwing the money into a deep pit instead of educating children. Well, unfortunately, I got news for you guys. Public schools don't work. I'm sorry this is a shocker, and for any teachers out there, I'm not blaming you, it's not your fault. But public schools, as a system, do not work. They do not work for a number of reasons. First off, we're still dealing with a model from the 19th century designed to make good factory workers. That's why you have bells and regimentation, to teach kids to become adults who can listen to bells at factories and follow orders. Second, there's no competition in public schools. It is not a free market system, it is a monopoly system. It is run by the government. So if you have a monopoly system, it's not going to be as good as if it were in competition. Business exists in competition. The strong thrive, the weak fail, and leave the market, leave the industry. In public school, the schools that fail continue to run. They just get more money pumped into them, and someone says, I really wish you'd get better. But they don't, because there's no system in place to do it. Even though everyone there may be trying their best, the system doesn't support them. To deal with this problem, the state creates guidelines. This is problem number 3. Guidelines. Because when you try to centrally run something, you have to create strict guidelines that tell them how to work. If you do that, what you get is everything in a mediocre box. Things won't get too terrible, but they won't get too good. This is not a recipe for excellence for America. This is a recipe for mediocrity. This is a recipe for us slowly falling behind as the rest of the world moves ahead, which we've been doing over the past few decades. So, an example of this monopoly concept is there's, as you know, 5 game stores, as you may know. 5 game stores in the Route 9 corridor from Amherst to Northampton. And each of them is run separately, in competition. Friendly competition for the most part, but separately. We each can come up with our own ideas, we can innovate. If we innovate in the wrong direction, we close. If we innovate in the right direction, the business makes a profit. For 4 of them, the profit goes to the owner. For 1 of them, the profit goes to the community. But either way, profit is ultimately the incentive in any business decision, whoever the money goes to. Now, if I could magically take ownership of all 5 stores and centralize it into a central management office, we could probably increase the amount of money available to each store by about 10%, maybe 15%. We could shift resources around, get a great deal more efficiency. But if it was centrally controlled, you would have 5 mediocre stores, because you wouldn't have enough authority at the ground level to make the decisions to make it excellent. Schools are the same way. There's not enough authority at the school level. Now, why is that? Why can't you trust the administrators and teachers to make decisions? Very simple. There's only one school for most of these kids. If you don't have a choice, then the government has to make sure that things don't get too bad for you. What we need is a free market system. What we need is a choice. Free market is a very effective tool. Free market does not mean privatization. Free market does not mean selling schools to individual companies for profit. That's not free market. Free market requires competition. Free market means that a kid could decide to go to school A, B, or C. If school A turns out to be a terrible school, guess what's going to happen? All the kids are going to leave. We say, what happens to the kids left behind? They should leave too! Because once that school closes, you got an empty school building. Someone else is going to say, oh look, there's a gap in the market. There used to be 1,000 kids going there. If I open a school that doesn't suck, 1,000 kids will go there. I make a profit, the kids learn better. Everyone's happy. This is how the world works. Unfortunately, it's not how the world of education works. It's even how the world of higher education works. Colleges are like that. They're not state mandated. The better colleges do better and make more money and are more successful. The worst colleges don't do better. Some of them fail. Some of them end up being the place for kids who can just barely get into college. But in public schools, there's a monopoly, and monopolies never create a quality product. Which brings me back to charter schools. Charter schools are sort of a halfway solution, but the best I think we're ever going to get in terms of creating competition in schools. Charter schools allow students to leave the schools that are not serving them, the schools they want to drop out of, the schools that are extinguishing the light in their eyes, and let them go to a better school, a school that suits their needs, a school that focuses on theater or science, or focuses just on one-on-one attention so that they want to stay in school. People say we don't want to take money away from the public schools. Why? They're not working. I worked at an after-school program up in Shelburne Falls, and it was like someone had extinguished the candles in these kids' minds. It was an entrepreneurship class, and I said, so, what ideas do you got? They said, what? You want me to memorize a book? Because that's all I know how to do. I ran the same class at North Star. North Star is a homeschooling alternative. And half the kids there came in saying, great, glad you're here for this entrepreneurship class. I'm already halfway through a project, and now you can help me to advance it. They were already doing something. They were still excited about learning. I want more kids to be excited about learning and excited about life, because those are the kids who are going to discover the cure for cancer and discover the way to world peace and make America great and not just mediocre. Now, how do I know schools are failing? I know schools are failing because people are really dumb. And guess what all these people have in common? They went to public school. That guy who yelled out, you lied to the president, Joe Wilson, bet he went to public school. Not sure about him specifically, but the people who believe in death panels, the people who said let's teabag Obama, most of them went to public schools because people are not educated in critical thinking, they're not educated in basic finance, basic economics, basic science. They can't understand the world around them because they are not educated. Charter schools give us a chance to do something about that and to possibly create just a little bit, tiny sliver of excellence in America before we slide back into third world country status in a few generations. I'm Michael Whitehouse, and that'll do.